First of all, let's talk Partygate, because Sue Gray's report into the Partygate affairs is due this week. We're told we could hand it to the Prime Minister today, Tuesday or Wednesday. We can see it published. Who knows? May see some photographs of some of the parties, the Prime Minister pouring drinks. I don't know if we've got photographs of the people brawling at the end of someone's leaving do after the karaoke, because, yeah, that's what we all did during lockdown, didn't we? By the way, even if you did do that, you weren't the people in charge of the rules, and you weren't having to sneak, you were having to sneak around doing it, whereas they weren't. They were doing it with impunity. There's a lot of talk about this meeting that took place about a month ago between Sue Gray and the Prime Minister. We've heard since Steve Barclay, his Chief of Staff, was there. There was a big debate about who had organised this meeting. It's totally inappropriate for these two to have a meeting on their own, certainly. I would have thought you'd had to have a neutral civil servant in the room, because if she's the person investigating him, surely there should not be a private meeting at all. But how damaging do you think this report is going to be?
I mean, we wait and see, of course, but I think the problem is it's not going to exonerate the Prime Minister. We know that. It's not going to be good for him. And it depends, therefore, how much people have truly moved on, how much of this is all just background. No.
No, me neither.
And I don't care that so many people say that they have. That's good for you, that you had 2 years to just fritter away, or businesses to just lose or whatever, and that you don't mind. Good for you. For a lot of people, actually, it's not okay. And even if in the short term they care about the cost of living or Ukraine more, I still believe that if Boris Johnson is Prime Minister come the next general election, a lot of people will go into the booth and they will remember, and they'll go, do you know what, actually, no.
I'm just still absolutely furious about it. Again, for me, it's one of those things. It unites people who were very, members of my family, very, very pro-lockdown and obeyed every single, minutiae. I mean, just, even when they weren't legally required to isolate, they came into contact with someone, they were isolating, did everything. They are really angry about losing 2 years of their lives. And people like me who just fought, from about May 2020 against lockdowns, I'm even more angry because I always knew that the laws weren't necessary, and they made it obvious they didn't think they were necessary. So an interesting comment from someone within Number 10 in one of the papers yesterday saying, they thought they were saving the world, and therefore everything they did was justified because they were saving the world. And this is the thing, this Messiah complex, and you can absolutely see it in people like Matt Hancock when he was Health Secretary, and Michael Gove as well, Levelling Up Secretary, that he was Cabinet Office Secretary as he was then. It is extraordinary how much these people could justify to themselves what they did. But also we've got this thing where we discovered, I was gutted, these stories coming out on a Thursday afternoon after I've finished my show, about how many, the fact the Prime Minister's only going to get one fine for the cake in the Cabinet Office, in the Cabinet Room, as opposed to being other parties, because apparently, he was at work. I have gone until I'm red in the face. I will keep explaining, blue in the face, whatever colour you go, to a political journalist in my messages. This idea, the government has justified this on the basis that it was a work meeting. There were no social meetings allowed for work. You were not allowed to eat and drink with other people at work. And the reason why they don't remember this, is because they were all sitting at sodding home. The whole of Westminster was sitting at home for 2 years, having a lovely time in their back gardens, and they don't know what the rules were. Well, we were in the office, and millions of people, and people who were listening to the show, we were working, weren't we? We knew what the rules were. You weren't allowed to do anything that wasn't, quote, reasonably necessary for work. And the idea that cheese and wine in your garden or bring a bottle of booze party is reasonable for work, or karaoke is reasonable for work. I mean, frankly, to quote one prominent politician, Angela Rayner, do one. Yeah,
I'm not interested in any of the excuses that we need to move on, we need to forgive and forget, all that sort of thing. Actually, it was a serious attack on civil liberties, which I still think a lot of people don't quite fully understand just how much they were just arbitrarily suspended, and how much the opposition just went, yeah, we're fine with that because pandemic, because, as you say, the Messiah complex, we need to do this to stop the virus. And a lot of people bought into it, they were completely swayed by it, and I really do feel that people should be incredibly angry about it, because they were essentially duped by the fact that actually people in Downing Street knew these rules were not necessary. That's why they didn't obey them. This is the thing, every time all the other media concentrate on somebody who very tragically lost their father to COVID and they couldn't see them. Okay, you know what? Other people died of other things, and other people will continue to die of other things for decades to come because of what we did then. And it's not just people who died, and it's not even the people who didn't get to do any, go on holiday or do things. It's people who just had to, even people who had to sneak around and lie. How dare you make adult human beings in this country have to sneak around to try and have some semblance of an ordinary life? I've always said, people have to obey the law. I'm not ever endorsing people breaking the law. I sought to change the law.
But, I've got no problem at all with the people who did. I'm amazed by how many people still hang on to this stuff. Look, this is a classic example, The Guardian.
Yeah.
Front page today. Children's mental health in crisis as cases rocket to a record high. 400,000 children and young people a month are being treated for mental health problems, highest on record, prompting warnings of an unprecedented crisis in the well-being of under-18s. This is classic Guardian. Experts say COVID has seriously exacerbated problems such as anxiety, depression, self-harm among school children. No, COVID didn't do that. COVID barely affects children. Lockdown did that. Locking millions of young people in their homes, in their bedrooms, to all intents and purposes, for months and months on end, banning them from playing sports, doing anything, meeting up with their friends, going to parties, enjoying life, enjoying their education. That's, and telling them if they see their grandmother, they're going to kill her.
Yeah.
That is what damages mental health for children.
Go through the front pages for the next couple of years, and there will almost certainly be every week, every day, there will be something that's related to government policies around COVID.
They're always going to call it COVID. It's not COVID didn't do that. COVID didn't care about children.
I mean, here's another one on the front page of the Times. Call for work-from-home medical consultants because there's a backlog in the NHS. So what do we need to do to clear that backlog? We need to let GPs work from home.
And also it also says later in the copy about working from their retirement homes in Spain.
Honestly, it's staggering. But people will. I worry that people will go along with it like it's all cost of living. Everything isn't as good. And I really do hope actually that come a few years' time when we are at the next general election, I'll say it again. If Boris Johnson's name is on there, he's head of the Conservative Party, please do just think back to the past few years of everything that's gone wrong and just think what started that.
But here's the thing. Keir Starmer went along with everything. He wanted us to go into lockdown sooner, he wanted us to stay in longer, and he wanted lockdown rules to be harder.
That's absolutely true.
That's the thing. A lot of people are going, well, a plague on all their houses.
That's absolutely true. But Boris Johnson was the one that signed it off.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how spineless Keir Starmer is. Boris Johnson said yes and then went and had a drink.
Keir Starmer, I think, actually believed in it all, terrifyingly.
That's really upsetting.
Boris Johnson didn't believe it. He always thought it was mad. And he was pushed, he was dragged. And we're constantly, but Boris Johnson doesn't want to lock down and he's forced into it. That, to me, is even worse.
Yeah.
To do it and know that it's not necessary because he's so spineless.
At least Keir Starmer was a sucker like the rest of us then. In that game, he genuinely believed it. He was at least as open and honest as everybody else who thought they were doing the right thing.
Anybody who looked at the data, who genuinely thought that lockdowns were a good idea after the summer of 2020 is an idiot.
Yes, well.
Or dishonest or both. It is not possible. It is not possible to think that it's necessary.